Gentlemen, you are all welcome. My name is Francis Yiribaare, the UNPOL Chief of Operations for South Sudan, UNMISS. You are very much welcome, and welcome Inspector General of Police of Malawi. Very fortunately, I work very closely with one of your people in my office. So you are very much welcome, and colleagues, all of you are welcome to today's pre-conference session. Like I mentioned, I'm the Chief of Operations for the UNMISS, and I think basically I drive the overall operational activities, priorities of the UNPOL components, the implementation aspects, right down to administrative issues where operations are also intermingled. And the overall objective of all that is to ensure that we adequately protect the civilians. We have about a number of 5 POC sites, protection of civilian sites in South Sudan. And we have police UNPOL deployment in all these protection of civilian sites. So we have an overall responsibility ensuring their safety, their security, and also providing conducive environment for humanitarian service delivery so that we can achieve a holistic approach towards protecting the vulnerable people inside the POC. So I think that's all from our side, and thanks so much once again. I may have the privilege to invite, as chair of this session, to invite the Inspector General of Police if he has anything to introduce himself and also let us know what is going on in Malawi in terms of policing. Thanks so much, Mr. Inspector General of Police. I think the platform is yours.
Thank you so much. Let me start by sending apologies. This session would have happened 2, if not 3 days ago. But as all of us are aware, the office of IGP is a busy office. I was out in office to other assignments, but I'm back now. And then I said it would be important for me to participate in this session. As an IGP, you know, I have the overall superintendency of policing in Malawi in terms of making sure that the Malawians and all those that are staying in Malawi are doing their business, are staying in Malawi safe, their properties are protected, they are enjoying their rights as enshrined in our constitution. I would want also to say that we have also the responsibility to make sure that we take care of the vulnerable groups. Basically, in our case, the moment we start talking of vulnerable groups, we are including women as a vulnerable group. We are including children as a vulnerable group. We are including the elderly as a vulnerable group, and perhaps the sick and the others that perhaps may need a kind of different attention in as far as safety and security is concerned. So it is the responsibility of the Malawi police to ensure that these vulnerable groups are taken care of. By the way, Malawi has a population of around 18 million people. And these 18 million people currently, they are being policed by a police service of around 14,000 police officers, which translate into one police officer policing around 1,200. As you all know, this is falling short if you compare it to the international standard of around one police officer policing 450. But we are trying all we can because the Malawi police service is spread across 40 police stations, and therefore, much as we are small in number, we are able to police the whole Malawi because we are spread. So far, that's what I can say. Otherwise, all is well. Perhaps the other thing that I can also talk about is the issue that Malawi, like any other country in the world, has been affected by COVID-19. As I speak, we are talking of about 50 police officers that have actually been infected, but most of them have recovered. Let me also mention that in the process, we have lost 6 police officers due to COVID-19. It has indeed affected our operations, in fact, in a way of rendering quality service on the ground. So I'll be speaking to some of the issues that we have done as a Malawi Police Service in the process. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Inspector General of Police, Malawi, Dr. Kainja. May I also have the privilege to invite Joseph Kalum to kindly introduce yourself and tell us a bit about what you do. Thanks so much, Kalum. The platform is yours.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for having me in this virtual meeting. We've been longing to be in this meeting, but due to avoidable circumstances, we've managed today. I'm Joseph Kalum from Anti-terrorism Police Unit. Anti-terrorism is within Directorate of Criminal Investigation, and our mandate is to mitigate terrorism within the country. So far, we are stable apart from along our borders where we have a problem. We still have some attacks along our borders because of fast border. But I can say for free that within Nairobi, everything is moving very well. Security is guaranteed for visitors because of we've managed to fix all the problem. We've deployed enough personnel to manage the CBD, the Central Business District within Nairobi, and other cities within our country. So far, as a lead agency in managing terrorism cases in the Republic, we've embraced the multi-agency approach, where the president had encouraged all the security agencies within our country to work as a team. For that, we have managed to share information in relation to terrorism activities, and we are assuring our visitors that Kenya is more safer because previously we've received a number of attacks, but at the moment we've managed to a minimal level. And I promise, and because where I sit, I hold brief our Director, Anti-terrorism Police Unit Kenya, and our officers are all over within the Republic, especially within the 2 cities, the major cities, Mombasa and Nairobi. So otherwise, I'm very much ready to proceed with the presentation, whereby I will be talking about the role of police in managing terrorism activities within the country, and also I will be taking you through on the intelligence-led investigation. So far, okay. I said I'm Joseph Kalum from Directorate of Criminal Investigation, and our role as officer from anti-terrorism is to mitigate terrorism activities within the country. So far, we have managed our cases to a minimal level because we still have a problem along our borders because of borders, and we've received. I believe you are all aware that Kenya have received a number of attacks. But so far, in our country, we've managed to prevent and mitigate terrorism. So far, for the last 3 months, we haven't received any attack, and Kenya is now safe for everyone, especially our visitors who are intending to come to Nairobi to visit various places, because we have tourist sites within Nairobi. They are free to do so because us from Directorate of Criminal Investigation, we have embraced the multi-agency approach in terms of managing terrorism activities within our country. So far, we have identified the cells within the country, and we are trying to fix all those guys who we believe that they are organizing terrorism activities. And we've deployed an intelligence to monitor the activities within our country. What I can say, I'm ready to take you through on the role of police in Nairobi in management of terrorism activities and also intelligence-led policy. So I'm very much ready to proceed with you, sir. And thank you very much for having me in this section. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joseph Kalum. Very much appreciate. I think we give the floor to our friend Gideon Kimilu to introduce himself also and tell us something about what he does. And on that note, Gideon, the platform is yours. Thank you so much, Gideon.
Thank you very much, Chair, for giving me the screen. My name is Gideon Milu. I am the Chief of Bureau of Interpol Bureau for East Africa, and also the Chief Executive Officer of the East African Police Chiefs of Police Organization called YAPO. I'm headquartered at Nairobi, and as the Chief of Bureau, I coordinate 14 countries within the Eastern Africa and also the Horn of Africa. I extend all the way from DRC to Somalia, from Sudan to Tanzania and the Comoros. And as I coordinate those 14 countries, I'm also in charge of all activities in the region. As you are aware, it connects all the police worldwide to make communities safer. So I have staff from normally the 14 countries, and also staff from Singapore and other countries. In addition to the staff who are regional specialized officer, I also have project officers who are under me in the bureau, a project which is looking at crime against children, a project also looking at how humanitarian workers abuse children, and I think you are in that area and you know better. I have other projects on counter-terrorism, other projects in environmental crimes or environmental security. And therefore, my work in the region is to connect the 14 countries. And when I ensure that there is proper flow of information from one country to the other, and also ensure that there is cooperation both at multilateral and unilateral. And as I do that, of course, our main plan as I bring these countries together is to look at to understand organized crimes, and of course there are some of them, and terrorism. And therefore, we ensure that there is flow of information and the intelligence from all 14 member countries, and also information and intelligence which may be needed in this region, and also intelligence which is in the region or information in the region, we share it through the Interpol SEM to our member countries. Of course, as the head of the regional bureau and as the chief executive of NAPCO, I organize the regional organs, police organs, starting with special areas like Kainja, Gender Committee, which look at the gender issues. Counter-terrorism committee, which specializes on counter-terrorism. I also have committees on capacity building, so we call it training subcommittee. We have other the director of CID come in and normally say they are agents of the region or the aims of YAP. And of course, I organize the police. I bring all of them together in what we call the Council of Police Chiefs. We normally have a chairman for the police chiefs, and I'm executive secretary of them, so I normally organize programs. And of course, when after we have the police, we bring also together the ministers in charge of security from this region, or ministers in charge of police affairs from this region. So we'll be talking about the need for to have community and give cooperate very close with the police in the policing sphere, because all the information which we share, very big chunk of it comes from the community. And in this respect, we share a lot of information on organized crime. We share a lot of information in the investigations. And when we organize operations, because we organize a lot of operations this area, either in Interpol or regional, these operations information oil generate. We get information from the communities so that when we do the operation, they are targeted operations from Malawi. Thanks for joining us in this meeting. Once again, Chair, thank you very much for inviting me. I'm happy to participate in this this meeting and work for the day. Thank you again.
So thanks so much, Gideon, for the introduction and also the highlights of some of the key activities you undertake in your area. So thanks so much. Maybe permit me once again as chair to go back to the Inspector General of Police of Malawi. During his introduction, he did hint about the fact that he'll be talking on issues of policing and also COVID in Malawi. Briefly, we want to invite you to talk to us on those issues you just hinted, and then we can go back to the rest of colleagues on the topics that they have earlier mentioned. Thanks so much, Mr. Inspector General of Police, Dr. Kainja. The platform is yours.
Thank you so much.
Were earlier told, I think we will try our best within 1.5 hours. We should have been able to run around each of us and also be able to take a group question for discussion, and we can end it at the end of it. So once again, thanks so much, Dr. Kainja. The platform is yours.
Thank you so much. In my introductory remarks, I did indicate that I'll be focusing on policing in general. Being IGP, one would begin to look at issues from a generic point of view, unlike my colleagues that are specific in their presentation. If you look at the way how policing is done in Malawi to ensure that we are policing the country and policing the community, is that currently we are looking at issues from a philosophy known as going back to the basics. At the center of this philosophy of going back to the basics is where we are actually encouraging our police officers, that is in CID, community policing, police operations, in all the policing districts, so that they go back to the basics in the way how we are policing our members of the community. What you notice is that we are coming from a political situation that was characterized by a political stalemate. Currently, we have a new government, and through that political stalemate, we saw police losing the trust of the members of the community. We saw the police actually fighting with the community, where there was a lot of community antagonism. And therefore, all we are saying is that perhaps we need to re-strategize, so that we need to go back to the basics in the way how we do our things. In going back to the basics, what I would want to share with my colleague is that we are looking at us doing a rethinking as far as how we can do our investigations, so that we are attaching quality in the way how we are doing our investigations. So our colleague in the CID, wherever they are, in all the corners in Malawi, they are making sure that they are revisiting the way how they have done their investigation, so that at the end of the day, the investigation is of quality, and then it's radiating hope in Malawians. As I speak, we have started winning the trust of members of the public. We are able to police with them. They are able to accept us through making sure that our investigations are of higher quality. But we are also emphasizing on issues of crime prevention. Malawi is a country, as I've said, comprising of 18 million people. It's a small population, but what we have said, looking at the crime rate, which is currently standing at 113 per 100,000, there is still a problem in as far as crime is concerned. Currently, we are being bogged down by mob justice. We are also being bogged down by robberies. We are also have a challenge in as far as human trafficking is concerned. Therefore, what we are saying to make sure that we are able to reverse the trend in as far as these high impact crimes are concerned is for us to make sure that we are focusing on crime prevention. So crime prevention is one of the things that we are emphasizing on as we are going back to the basics. You will notice that within crime prevention, we are emphasizing on community policing. With community policing, we are able to engage members of the public. We are able to set up community policing forums where the police is able to sit down with members of the community and other stakeholders so that we are able to find the challenges that Malawi is facing in as far as security is concerned, but at the same time, we are able to find solutions. So with community policing, we are doing a lot of crime prevention, but at the same time, we are also doing rural patrols, doing beat. We are also engaging our border police to make sure that our border is sealed, and we are also using the border to make sure that we are speaking to our colleagues like Malawi, our neighboring countries are Mozambique, Tanzania, and Zambia. Through border police, we are able to make sure that we are reaching out to these colleagues so that we are sealing the borders, and then we are able to deal with the issue of human trafficking. The other area that we are also emphasizing is the area of intelligence collection. As all of us are aware, that as a security organization, we cannot fight crime without collecting intelligence. So we are building our capacities in the areas of intelligence. We have a wing that is responsible for collection of intelligence. We are increasing the numbers within this wing so that we are able to reach out all the corners of Malawi in as far as collection of intelligence is concerned. So we are like going back to the basics where the emphasis is the improvement in the area of investigation, improvement in the area of collection of intelligence, and then crime prevention. What you notice is that Malawi, as I said earlier on, we have been impacted by COVID-19. I did allude to the fact that our officers too have been affected. Some of them have suffered. Of course, most of them now have recovered. Let me mention that if you look at the scenario in Malawi, compared to the countries that surround us and perhaps the region, we are currently talking of small figures in as far as the COVID is concerned. The information that we have is that 5,746 currently are the people that have been affected in Malawi. Out of these 5,746, we are told that 4,140 people in Malawi have recovered. And in terms of death, only 179 people have died out of COVID. And then currently, in terms of the people that are active, that are sick, we have 1,427. I am actually mentioning these figures so that people should appreciate that, yes, COVID has affected Malawi, but the figures are on a lower side. And therefore, we have not experienced situations of lockdown like it has been in other countries. What we have is where some guidelines have been issued out through the Ministry of Health, at the end of the day, through those regulations and guidelines, the police has been asked to enforce some, like where we are putting limitation in terms of numbers that are supposed to go to church gathering, numbers that are supposed to go to market, numbers that are supposed to patronize public place. So the police basically has been tasked to enforce regulations in as far as limiting these numbers. We have not had a very serious resistance from the members of the public like we have seen in other countries. What we have done is to make sure that we are policing with the people, and then we are controlling the people in as far as the guidelines from the Ministry of Health are concerned. As we speak, we continue to police members of the public. We continue to police Malawi within the guidelines that have been provided by the Ministry of Health. Let me mention that as a Malawi Police Service, we are also very much concerned with or interested with making sure that we have better relations with our neighbors so that we are able to fight transnational crime. We are also able to fight organized crime that crosses the boundaries. As I speak, we enjoy a very cordial relationship with our colleagues in Zambia through what we have termed Joint Permanent Commission on Defense and Security. We have also enjoyed a very cordial relationship with Tanzania, similarly with Mozambique, where we have also what we call the Joint Permanent Commission on Defense and Security. Through this platform, Malawi has been able to share its problem in as far as security is concerned, and our colleagues have also been able to do that. And then at the end of the day, we have agreed on commonalities and how best we can actually make sure that within the region, we are fighting transnational crime. Let me mention that we have also a very good relationship with other countries within the SADC region. We have a joint permanent commission with South Africa, Rwanda, and other countries within the region. We believe that making good friends with the region is the only way we can fight transnational crime. We will continue to make these efforts. As I speak, we are having kind of joint provincial meetings with the neighbors. Very recently, we have had a meeting with our colleagues in Chipata, that is in Zambia, and here in Malawi, Lilongwe. And as I speak, we have also had meetings with our colleagues, the Mozambique side, the Tete province. So we'll continue to do that so that at the end of the day, we are able to find solutions in as far as fighting transnational crime is concerned. Our colleagues were talking about issues of terrorism. Malawi, much as it is a member of the GROB, what you notice is that there isn't much a problem in as far as terrorism is concerned. That this does not mean that we have to go to bed. We are making sure that we are gathering intelligence through the meetings that I've talked about, through the international relations that we have created. Matters of terrorism are discussed. Currently, as a nation, we have anti-terrorism strategy, which talks about how ready we are in as far as fighting terrorism is concerned. We have a unit, and then, as my colleague was saying, we are also making sure that all key players are involved in as far as the fighting matters of terrorism are concerned. What concerns us most as Malawi is the issue of human trafficking. What we have noticed is that there is a trend where people are being trafficked from Malawi to the neighboring countries. There is also a trend where people are also being trafficked from the neighboring countries into Malawi. So through the relationships that I've talked about that we have with Zambia, Mozambique, and the other neighbors, I think these issues are discussed so that at the end of the day, we are able to find solutions. So basically, what I would say is that like any other country within the region, we are making sure that we are keeping people safe in as far as the attacks from robbers are concerned. We are also keeping people safe in as far as the mob justice is concerned, much as it is one of the issues that is affecting us. So far, that's what I can share with my colleagues. In case there are issues to clarify, I'll be able to come back at a later stage.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kainja, Inspector General of Police, Malawi. We are very much appreciative of this very insightful presentation. We want to thank you so much once again for all the patience, all the time. And I'm sure it's been very helpful to colleagues also. May I proceed, for want of time, proceed to our colleague from Nairobi, Kalum. Maybe you can take one of your things, the role of the police in counterterrorism. I noticed we have about 2 proactive counterterrorism investigations, but maybe for want of time, can you dwell on the role of the police in counterterrorism? If you can share that with us, we'll be very grateful. So thanks so much, Kalum. Your platform is yours. We are all for you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. As earlier said, that within the Directorate of Criminal Investigation, and our desk is to investigate terrorism cases within the country. So far, we've taken through our officers to manage terrorism in proactive and reactive measures. Our role as police officers is to identify and to divert violent extremism, and where possible, support them in disengagement from violent extremism. We've realized that many youths in Nairobi are being brainwashed by a radical Muslim cleric. So we've reached the community to encourage those youth to desist from engaging in terrorism. Also, we have identified and support individuals who are vulnerable, because we realize those youths who are vulnerable are easily potent into this act of terrorism because they are from a single mother, they are from single families. So we've reached them to discourage them from engaging in terrorism activities. Also, we've tried to build community cohesion and resilience to violent extremism by encouraging them that as we fight terrorism, terrorism is not about Muslim. Terrorism is not about religion. Terrorism is about people engaging. They are being convinced that fighting jihad is the way to glorify the act of terrorism. But we've tried to reach the community to discourage them from engaging in terrorism activities. Also, we've done communication. We've tried to communicate to members of the public, but because we realize that majority of them, they are not aware of what is terrorism. Also, we've reached the members of the community to understand our fights against terrorism, because we realize majority of our youth are being brainwashed because they are not aware of what is terrorism. They are being taken through to ideologies which are almost related to religion, but they are being cheated to enter into terrorism activities. But that our unit, with, in collaboration with other stakeholders, including members of our National Intelligence Service and many other stakeholders within our country, we've managed to reach our communities and discourage them from engaging into terrorism activities. Also, we are trying to collect information, the real-time information on what is happening on the ground, so that we use such information to correct our youths. And we realize because of poverty and unemployment and many other factors, these youth are prone to terrorism because they are not employed, and majority of them they can be convinced easily because of unemployment. So we encourage our members of the public and also train our youth to and also support them in terms of giving them what to do. Also, we've responding to terror threats and also coordinating city operation. As a unit, we've tried to engage our national intelligence officers as we collaborate with them to collect intelligence for the purpose of ensuring that we mitigate the activity, the incident before it happens. And we've seen a lot of fruits in this because for the last 3 years or so, we haven't experienced any attack apart from not 3 years, but 1 year, apart from the Dusit attack that happens in 2015, January. And we are happy because in Nairobi, we are more safer, apart from our borders, who are borders. You'll find that we have a problem our borders because of our neighbor Somali, where it has been noted that Somalia has been the incubator of terrorists in East Africa. Majority of our youths are travel to Somalia and they return back to attack us because of the ideologies that are being guided by those radical clerics that fighting terrorism, fighting Makafir and many other ideologies, whereby the youth, they are not aware of all these activities. So because of that, we are still having those problems, but we've managed to reach them and mitigate all those issues. Also within the DCI, we have a training. We are building training capacity to our officers on how to handle terrorism cases in our republic. And for real, we have improved because our officers know what they are expected of, and they know the areas they are supposed to deal with as far as terrorism is concerned. Also, we have an improvement in terms of management of cyber crime issues. Because I'm one of the field for more than 10 years, I have employed the use of internet and social media in their operation. Because of late, we've realized that they've moved from traditional ways of doing a crime to technological way. And we have encouraged our director of criminal investigation to improve on training of our cybercrime officers, so that we can be able to manage the social media investigation, because this is where these are areas where these guys, they have moved to. They have left the traditional ways of planning, executing attacks. Lastly, DC High, we have organized seminars with other stakeholders, especially with those the communities who we believe that they are the vulnerable people in our society. And for that, we have seen the fruits because we've managed to prevent terrorism activities in our country, I mean. And for that reason, we encourage even regional to develop such kind of training, especially to deal with social media and the social media investigation, and also the use of technology. Also, the last but not least, if we can partner with the regional stakeholders by sharing information and maybe have what we call a network, so that in case of any terror suspect, you can be easily able to share information within the shortest time possible. What we are lacking regionally is a database where all stakeholders can share information within the shortest time possible and manage to fix the issue within that period and time. Because we've realized a number of youth, especially the terror suspects, are from East Africa and regional. So for us to network with regionally, we need to have a database, central database, where at the touch of the button, you can easily identify and also manage to get such kind of information. Otherwise, thank you very much for having me in this forum. I believe if we continue to partner regionally, we are able to share and manage terrorism activities within East Africa and the whole of Africa and the world. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much, Kalum, for the presentation. You've highlighted a good number of useful development and measures you are taking out there. So thanks so much. Can I please invite our friend Gideon to also share with us on the issue of community engagement in policing or intelligence and information sharing. You might take one and you may highlight on one of them so that we can all share and benefit from your experience. So thanks so much, Gideon. The platform is yours.
So as a way of introducing, I want to talk about community policing, and that is enhancing the community in policing their neighborhood. And I was saying that YAPCO, or the East African Police Chiefs Corporation, have created several centers of excellency. One of them is Counter-Terrorism Center of Excellency in Nairobi. We have the Forensic Center of Excellency in Khartoum. We are creating the Maritime Center of Excellence in Mwanza, Tanzania, and the Cybercrime Center of Excellency in Rwanda. And the last one is Community Policing Center of Excellency in Uganda. And because we are dealing with the community policing, I want to spend a bit of time on Community Policing Center of Excellency in Uganda, which is going to capacity build the police officers in the 14 member countries to make sure that they engage communities in policing their neighborhood. Of course, the communities need to feel free and secure for them to engage in any economic and social development. Even for political development, there is need for the community to feel secure and free. The police officers in the 14 member countries in this region have been trained to make sure that they work with the communities as they manage the neighborhood, and they work with the communities to reduce crime and they reduce the fear of crime. So we know, and this has come out very clearly in the strategic plan for ourselves in the region, that the community members know their security or their crime problem better than any other person, including even the professional trained police officers. The communities also have the best solutions to their crime and the security challenges. And again, they are more concerned about their security and the crime than any other person, including the police who police them. In the East African region, we have, of course, noted that we have different cultural backgrounds, and the police, as they do their policing in their different neighborhoods or in different communities or in different countries, they need to understand the cultural issues of the area in which they are policing. We have realized that some police officers may not appreciate the cultural values in which they are operating. And this has led to some police work or police activities not being appreciated. And therefore, for the police to earn the trust of the communities, they need to be trained on community policing. They may be very professional, trained to handle crime and security issues, but unless they are trained to handle the community and to appreciate the community in which they are working in, and have them involve the community in policing, they may never gain the trust and the confidence of the community. And therefore, police officers need to be trained in several areas, like in conflict resolution. And here we look at several conflicts. We can think about family conflicts. We have conflicts resulting from religious issue, and we also have conflicts related to resources, and we have many of them in the region. We have also conflict because of age, differences between certain groups, and also conflict in institutions like universities and the schools. And unless police officers are trained on how to handle the communities in those particular areas, they may not deal well with the problems or the challenges which the communities or those institutions are facing. Now, as a region, we are handling certain crime and security issues which are quite a challenge. One of the biggest problems we have in the region, and here we are talking about how we can involve the community, is terrorism. This region is being threatened by terrorism from Somalia, the Al-Shabaab. We also have a threat from Mozambique, which is threatening southern Tanzania. And we also have NDF on the side of Uganda and Rwanda and DRC. And to fight these problems, of course, we need to have the communities being involved in solving the problem, because the terrorists come from the community. And it's the people in the community who know them better than even the professional police officers who are policing them. And therefore, when we involve the community is able to give information to the police, and with that, the police can solve the problem of terrorism. Of course, the causes of terrorism are beyond police capabilities, because we are talking about issues of unemployment. We are talking about issues of some grievances, historical grievances, which are in some regions. We are also talking about the fault lines, where we may have some cultural issues coming in. But for the police officers, they need to understand the community from where the terrorists are coming, so that they can deal with those terrorist suspects even before they commit the terrorist act. In the region, again, we also have a serious problem of human trafficking. The human trafficking in this region, we have the southern route and the northern route. And unless we have information about how the modus operandi, and unless the community assists us in knowing where these the traffickers are getting the victims, and the way the victims are being moved, we may not assist the region in fighting human trafficking. Of course, again, we have a challenge on environmental crimes. And in this, the particular area is mainly on poaching. We have a lot of poaching, especially on elephants. We have a lot of poaching on pangolins. And most of these poachers who kill our wildlife hide in the communities. And the communities are the ones who assist our officers to get to know these poachers and prevent the crime before it is committed. Then, Chair, and I think you are good in this area, there is also a serious problem of proliferation of small arms in the region, trafficking of firearms from one region to the other. Some communities are keeping arsenals or weapons which are military caliber, or which are even heavier and more sophisticated than the police weapons. And unless you engage the communities, it becomes quite a problem to prevent or eradicate proliferation of small arms. We have a serious, unique challenge in this region, which the outside world may not know, and especially those not from Africa. We have a serious problem of cattle rustling, and we are dealing with this issue through a protocol called the Mifuko Protocol, which is being looked at by the 14 member countries. And this one will involve the communities in making sure that we eradicate or reduce cattle rustling in this region. It is a major crime which is affecting the region. If you look at the amount of money which is laundered through the cattle rustling, it's a lot of money. And then you find the same is supporting proliferation of small arms and also environmental crime. So as a region and as a bureau, as a secretariat, we have developed several objectives. We have several objectives on how to involve the community in policing their neighborhood. And first of all, we involve ourselves in capacity building for the police officers. The police officers need to be trained, and we train them on issues of how to handle the communities as they police them. How do you approach them to get, how do you approach the community to get information or to get intelligence? And the issue of human rights comes very much, is high in priority, and how you handle the community. You make sure that you handle them in such a way that they don't complain against the method you are using to police them. So there is a lot of capacity building in my bureau to train police officers from the 14 member countries on community policy. The Community Policing Center of Excellence in Uganda is going to specialize itself in community policing tactics and the methods, starting with the philosophy down to practical way on how you handle the communities whenever you are policing them. We have also realized that we also have retired police officers in this region, and some of them were very experienced police officers. Some of them, when they retire, they go back to the society to live with them. And as a way of engaging them in ensuring the communities are safe, we have started creating organizations of retired police officers. In Kenya, we have one which is very vibrant and which is involved in a lot of activities, including capacity building for police officers, including also attending YEPCO NGMs, and also giving lectures on how we can professionalize our police forces and how they can be used to make sure that the communities are safe. Then, of course, we also have an organization of retired police officers in Uganda and Rwanda, which are also very vibrant. One is being created in Tanzania. It has not come up. It is in the works, and I want to make sure that it is operational and running in the shortest time possible. Chair, as a region, we make sure that we work with other regions for purposes of making sure that we share the information and the intelligence which come from the communities. We are working very closely with the SAPCO region. That is the police organization for the Southern African region, and I know the IGP of Malawi is aware about it. We work very closely with them to organize operations and to organize capacity building and benchmarking exercises for purposes of making sure our officers are very professional. We also work very closely, and we have created a cooperation agreement with CAPCO. CAPCO is Central African Police Chiefs Organization, Chiefs of Police Organization, the equivalent of YAPCO in the Central African region, for purposes of making sure that all the police officers in this region are of the same standard. Of course, I will be talking about the standards of policing and how we are making sure that as we police the communities, we have come up with several guidelines on how to guide the police officers in this region to make sure that as they operate, they operate to win the confidence of the communities in the 14 member countries. Then lastly, we have Interpol and the regional databases, where all the information from the communities, from law enforcement agencies, after it has been analyzed, is deposited there. And the member countries and the police services and the forces within the member countries and the region can go to those databases and get information and intelligence which they can use for purposes of policing their region. Otherwise, the Bureau, the Interpol Bureau, and the East African Police Chiefs Organization really works very hard to make sure that the police officers in this region are well coordinated. They cooperate in making sure that the communities are safe. Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you. Back to you.
Thank you. Thank you once again for these highlights, very important. We are very grateful, and I'm sure very helpful and useful to all of us. Maybe before I proceed, let me just highlight a few issues on my side. I will take a few questions if we have. And like I mentioned earlier, we go straight onto the group question. On my side, as I mentioned earlier, I was going to speak on the role of the UN police in the protection of civilians in South Sudan. And of course, since the crisis, political crisis in 2013, the latter part of December 2013, we've seen a good number of displaced persons finding their way into the UN bases. And that led to the establishment of about 5 protection of civilian sites across the mission. And currently we have over 160,000 internally displaced persons scattered in the various protection of civilian sites. What do we do? The mission has a mandate to protect civilians as a priority mandate. We need to monitor, we need to investigate, we need to verify and also report on human rights violations. We need to create an enabling environment for humanitarian service delivery and also support the revitalized peace process. And as you are aware, in February, the stakeholders, political stakeholders, finally formed what we call the revitalized government, transitional government of national unity. In this context, the UNPOL has a huge responsibility to protect civilians. We go through the various concepts of operation, or we call it the operational concept of POC, engagement and dialogue, physical protection measures, and also protective environment. So basically, we do patrolling as a crime preventive mechanism or measure. And I was very happy the Inspector General of Police of Malawi highlighted some of these practical measures that can indeed lead to enhancing safety and security in the neighborhoods. And of course, my colleague also mentioned that. So patrol is a preventive tool. We do that in protection of civilian sites. We do a lot of engagement with the community, crime awareness campaigns, community-oriented policing initiatives, sensitizations. We try to hinge on the human rights campaigns. And we also do a lot of monitoring of human rights and support to the local police also. We offer technical assistance and advice to them. All these measures, mechanisms, and tools are intended to see to the reduction in physical violence, and for that matter, enhance safety and security for the internally displaced persons inside the POC. We have various structures. We have the community policing unit. Amongst us, we have the gender, children, and vulnerable people's protection units. We have the patrol units within the UNPOL setting. All these all work towards the protection of civilians in the protection sites. What we are witnessing for now is we are seeing a very downward slope of criminality in the POC sites. We have also seen as a mission a very downward slope of political violence. And we are working currently towards seeing the options of transitioning the protection of civilian sites to protection of civilian sites to IDP, internally displaced camps. And government will have a responsibility of overseeing safety and security. We are also supporting, of course, the humanitarian food distributions in the camps and all that. And all of these have indeed combined to give us a very good image, to see the crime reduction, and also to see an improved protection of civilian environments, both in the protection sites and the external environment also. So basically, this is what we do. The police has a huge responsibility, and I can assure you we're living up to expectation. The Inspector General of Police highlighted the impact of COVID. We are also not immune to that. We are not an exception. As a result of the outbreak of COVID, the first case was announced in this country, South Sudan, on the 5th of April, 2020. And it has gone a long way to impact operational activities of the mission, including the UNPOL components. We have realigned our operational posture, ensuring that we are adequately protecting civilians, at the same time protecting the spreads of an infection of COVID on ourselves and also the community. And I think so far so good. The mission has been able to survive, and we survive it up to now. We are still monitoring the development as we progress. So on that note, that's all from our side. And may I please ask if there are any questions for the Inspector General of Police, his presentation he made, or any of the presentations that was made. If there are any questions or comments, I think they will be ready to take them, and we'll proceed to the next phase of this particular discussion today. So thanks so much. Any question from any colleague, any comments, any suggestion on the presentations we have heard so far? All right. I think we want to believe that we are very much satisfied with the presentations. We have a group question, which I may read out, and I will expect colleagues to make their contribution towards it. It's a very practical one. What are the drivers of radicalization and violent extremism conducive to terrorism in the domestic environment? I may take it again. What are the drivers of radicalization and violent extremism conducive to terrorism in the domestic environment? I may take contribution from anyone, otherwise I go straight briefly to the Inspector General of Police what experiences he can share on this. As an Inspector General of Police, he did tell us he has a huge responsibility over the safety and security of about 30 million, sorry.
18 million.
Yes, over 20 million goods people of Malawi. And I think we are looking at what are the drivers that indeed are the fuel for extremism, for radicalization within any domestic environment, including that of Malawi. We may take something brief from you, and I'm sure my colleagues will also make contribution to that. Thank you so much, Inspector General of Police, Dr. Kainja.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Chair. Yeah, thank you so much. As I indicated earlier on, in our case, the issue of terrorism is not as extreme as spelled out by our colleagues in Tanzania, Kenya, but we cannot rule out that there's something that is cooking on the ground. Basically, in our case, we are looking at the fuels in terms of the illiteracy levels. One would expect where people are not well educated and conversant, they can easily be motivated to join Islamic and the fundamental kind of groups. So where countries are driving towards educating their masses, I think that would be something that we need to encourage within the region and beyond. We are also looking at the issue of unemployment. What you notice is that currently there is a lot of unemployment within the region, and where you have so many souls, so many people walking down idle, one would expect that these can easily be motivated to join such kind of groups, and therefore going forward, one would begin to look at a situation where countries begin to find ways on how to keep people that have been trained, people that have gone to universities busy, or perhaps engage them in useful kind of employment, because honestly speaking, unemployment levels in the SADC region and beyond seems to be getting on a higher side. What I've noticed is that there is a drive to educate masses. Yeah, people like in our case in Malawi, so many people are going to school, so many people are going to universities, but at the end of the day, they are not being employed. So where we have so many of them not being employed, one would begin to see them as an area where they can easily be driven into radicalization. So basically, I would highlight illiteracy and employment, but what else can I include? I would also want to look at the issue of us being closer to countries where terrorism is currently taking place. Like in our case, we are currently monitoring the situation in the northern part of Mozambique, around the Cabo Delgado area. This area is very close to us, about 900 kilometers from us. One would expect that Malawians can easily get motivated with what is happening the other side. So the closeness to areas where we've had serious terrorism acts could be one of the fuels in as far as radicalization is concerned. Chair,
thank you. Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Kainja. Very well said and very much appreciated on the issue of illiteracy and also unemployment. Can I call on my colleague, Kalum, to also share one or two experiences, the factors of radicalization, extremism in your policy environment? Thanks so much, Kalum. Please proceed.
One of the drivers of radicalization and violent extremism in Kenya and the world is ideological drivers, whereby there are multiple forms of violent extremist ideology. Some are secular, while others claim religious legitimacy. At present in Kenya, the ideology that is mostly responsible for radicalization is disseminated by terrorist organizations like Al-Qaeda and Al-Shabaab. Their Salafi jihadi ideologies or violent extremism utilizes selective readings of some Islamic religion text and historical injustices whereby some other guys are naming and protecting and advancing. They are alleging to protect and advancing Islamic religion, whereas they are also use claims of global and local victimization of Muslims to create militant recruits willing to carry out suicide and mass casualty attacks. We've received a number of suspects saying they were radicalized due to ideological belief. So those are one of the drivers of radicalization. Number two is about social economic drivers, where majority of unemployed youth and also underdevelopment, corruption, and the issue of marginalization. These are all grievances and disparitions that can easily be exploited by extremist groups, especially when these factors are combined with poor governance and the absence of basic service delivery. This automatically, the youth will join the outlawed terror group. These factors are ideal conditions for persuading groups and individuals to embrace violent extremism and to oppose the political, social, and legal status quo. In Kenya, there is a youth bulk who are educated and skilled yet unemployed, making them an easy target to be radicalized into terrorism. The high level of youth unemployment, aggravated by visible incomes inequalities, added to ambiguous public debates on well-being, the results of corruption that drives more young people into crime. We've witnessed this, and the lack of hope in the legal and formal domain can lead to ideologies or worldviews that are extremist and militant with the intention of utilizing violence to change social and economic structures and equality. Also, we have political drivers where some quarters perceive exclusion from political representation, discrimination, misgovernance, and narrative or historical injustices are powerful drivers of radicalization. Well, we have a practical case in Mombasa where a set of group decided to have their own extreme group called MRC, where they later they are being marginalized by the rest of the Kenyans. These are some of the drivers that can make somebody to join terror group. Violent extremism often invokes such injustices to inspire opposition to national infrastructure. Also, we have, number three, we have the psychological drivers. These include the search for recognition, status, meaning, power, a sense of belonging, and identity to explain personal crises. Individually, personally susceptible to radical includes those experiencing low self-esteem, a sense of victimization or alienation from normal social network, boredom and frustration, and sense of powerless. So we've realized all these drivers contribute to radicalization and violent extremism in the society. Also, we have global geopolitical drivers, where global and geopolitical drivers in Kenya are the local effects of international struggle between violent extremism and their opponent worldwide. These are anger over Western countries' policies and intervention in the Middle East and other acts associated with perceived Western agenda, including Kenya and AMISOM intervention against Al-Shabaab in Somalia, drive reactions from Kenyan by sympathizers with violent extremists. In addition, proponents of extreme ideologies abroad finance and facilitate the exportation of ideological extremism in the disguise of religion, and resolve regional conflict and increasing fragility of neighboring countries, especially Somalia, Sudan, South Sudan, and parts of Ethiopia that threaten large movement of refugees. We have experienced the influx of refugees, especially us in Kenya, where we have about 2 major refugee camps, that is Kakuma and Dadaab within the northern part of our country, that poses a great risk to the security of our country. Yes, I wanted to add something on the hotspot in the domestic environment. We have the issue of the primary radicalization hotspots in early 2016, whereby in Nairobi and coastal region, we experienced a lot of youth radicalization because targeting the young group. However, due to ease of communication, radicalization can be easily spread through the country. Majority of you understand both Kiswahili and English, and majority of them, because of unemployment, they are easily the obvious target of radicalization. So we need to engage our youth in terms of de-radicalizing them from engaging into violent extremism and radicalization. Otherwise, thank you very much. And I would wish to say that if we discourage our youths, especially and come up with programs that we manage them, I believe we shall handle this situation in a better way. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you so much, Kalum, for the litany of factors just enumerated. Very insightful indeed. Adding on to the Inspector General of Police's points of illiteracy, unemployment, you are talking about ideological drivers, religion, marginalization, political drivers, and discrimination, psychological sense of belonging search by people, global and geopolitical struggle, and adding hotspots. Wonderful contribution here. Can I please invite Gideon if he has anything to add?
I want to talk about 2 issues. I want to talk about the contents of terrorism and crimes and how radicalization takes place. Prisons are places of radicalization. And most of criminals who have been in the prison of radicalization. Attention to prisons, especially where we have convictions. Then, of course, we have seen convergence of terrorism and trafficking. Those victims of human trafficking, some of them are through human trafficking. You find that terrorism been moved from area to the other, which I think touch and both online and offline. When people used to come and live among ourselves in East Africa, radicalize a good number of youth, organize their terrorist activities, carry out the terrorist activities, and maybe be on the run. Of course, we have seen the offline radicalizing through the mosques. through the communities, especially in Somalia, the cost of youth. And if you look at the statistics, the East African region is one of the regions which has an hypertech you see most of our youth, and especially this time, youth all being communicated through the social media. Even learning is through Zoom. Terrorists have found that this is a fertile ground where they can recruit and radicalize the youth. This youth we have in our region of the coastal region of Kenya, where most of the people believe that the area has been marginalized by the national government in terms of distribution of resources. And with that in mind, the youth in that area seem to be very susceptible or vulnerable to be radicalized. Of course, we also have a study of the region, and we have seen the way the police conduct themselves, and I think this is very important. That the police, the way you conduct yourself in policing the communities, can lead to the youth joining the extremist groups, can make the youth become radicalized, because the police in this region or in many parts of the region use the hard methods. They want to use hard power to deal with them. And therefore, when the youth see their mothers, their sisters, their families being brutalized by them, have joined the terrorist groups because of the action or the methods the police are using to police them. Of course, that police activity and how it contributes to radicalization, of course, is supported by other factors which has been given by colleagues. And therefore, we, as a police, we need to understand the community we are policing, so that our activities as police officers, the way we police them does not turn and then make against us and make the youth join the radicals and, of course, become radicalized. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Gideon. Very much highlighted. So once again, I want to thank you for the contribution. Maybe on my side, just to add one issue. I know in Ghana, I'm a Ghanaian, and I know in Ghana, we really do not have much of this issue of extremism, radicalization, or terrorism, as it were. But maybe just to add that one fertile ground, and I know that also permeates within the African region, chieftaincy and land disputes. Chieftaincy and land disputes in some parts of Africa, especially in West Africa, they are fertile grounds for growing all kind of radicalization, growing all kind of extremism, growing all kind of violence, clashes, and through which, of course, radicals can always find their way in and hire a lot of people to perpetrate more violence for their own ideological or other reasons. And we may find, as police officers, we may find chieftaincy as mere chieftaincy disputes between two communities or a group of communities disputing, contesting over a certain territory of land. You might see them as merely a civil, as far as they do it civilly. But the bottom line is the underlying currents and fertile or fertilizer, the fuel that they actually carry along. And that's various terrorist groups can easily exploit their sentiments, exploit their concerns, and finally find a lot of huge followers towards for their own reasons. So thanks so much. That's all I can add from our sides. And I'm very grateful for the very meaningful, very insightful, very educative presentations from contributions and presentations from each of you. We have one last point to go. And this one is about some audience have submitted a question to us. We need to do justice to it. We need to operationalize it. And then we can put things in perspective. And we are looking at what steps have you taken in your respective police and security forces to implement a non-pain compliant ways of restraining subjects. Let me say it again. What steps have you taken in your respective police and security forces to implement a non-pain compliant ways of restraining subjects? Operationalizing it a little further is, I'm sure they want to find out what are the various ways the police organizations in our respective areas actually employ in restraining arrested persons, non-paying ones, brutalities, handcuffing, and all that. Are they some of the ways we employ in restraining people we have arrested? Or there are some other very humane mechanisms, operational measures that we employ in restraining people we have arrested for detention, for investigations, and all that. So, gentlemen, unfortunately, no lady with us. Gentlemen, I think the platform is for us for further discussion on this, and your contribution will be very much valued towards making our audience to understand the various means and tools and methodologies we employ in the process of policing in our communities. So thanks so much. I don't know if I would look fair in going to the Inspector General of Police again, but of course you have found yourself in this mess. We all look up to you.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks.
We all look up to you, and we always want to hear your voice first to set the tone.
Yeah, thank you so much.
So thank you once again. If you can, we will very much appreciate your contribution to this particular subject. Thanks so much, Dr. Kainja.
Thank you so much, Chair. I think in our case, the law is very clear. The first thing that people should appreciate is that in Malawi, whenever we have issues with people that would want to arrest, the law is very clear that they must be treated as innocent until the contrary is proven. And therefore, whatever means and ways of affecting arrest, you must take into consideration that the person you are going to arrest is a person that the law deems innocent until maybe is taken to court, evidence is provided, and then the court is convinced that the evidence that has been provided is beyond reasonable doubt and the person is convicted. Otherwise, we are encouraging fair treatment of suspects, where all the rights that are supposed to be enjoyed by suspects are given to them. The right that if, for example, they are under our custody, the right that they must be visited by their relatives, the right that they must be given food, the right that they enjoy all the rights that are expected by suspects. Now, looking at the arrest specifically, is that it will depend on the kind of suspect that you are looking at. If this is a suspect that you can arrest using our legal framework, where you pronounce why this person is being arrested and is cooperative, I think we have had instances where people are taken, they are surrounded by 2, maybe 3, 4 officers, and then they are escorted to a charge office where further processing can be done. But where you have the situation where the suspect is violent, you have no choice. Because it is only a metal that can sharpen a metal. And in this case, if he's violent, we have to make sure that we apply a necessary force to effect an arrest. For sure, you cannot run away from handcuffing this person, because one, you would want to make sure that he doesn't flee away. And then if he is handcuffed, you would want to protect the life of the officers that are actually arresting this person. Therefore, the expectation is that for violent offenders, I think all necessary force must be used, and then they must be taken into custody. As soon as they are taken into custody, perhaps the humane treatment has to ensue, because as I said earlier on, we are looking at them as innocent until the contrary is proved by the court of law. So what we are seeing in Malawi is that we've had instances where with those suspects, that when we approach them, they are told of whatever offense they have committed. Then the situation is where you don't handcuff them. You ask them to, if it's, for example, you take them in a car, you ask them to jump into the car, and then they are read to the charge office. That's what I would want to say, but we're ensuring the enjoyment of the rights as enshrined in our Constitution. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Mr. Inspector General of Police, for the valuable contribution. We are very much appreciative of that. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, you have set the tone. Can I invite Kalum, has any more contributions to add to what the Inspector General of Police of Malawi has just given us? Thanks so much, Kalum.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe our laws in Kenya is very clear in relation to the arrest of a suspect. Even the suspect that is connected to terrorism. Our constitution, after the promulgation of our constitution of 2010, we are more democratic, I believe, regionally, because the laws are that you are supposed to produce the arrested person within the 24 hours period. Also, the suspect is presumed innocent until proven contrary in the court of law. So it is our responsibility as police officers, especially us from anti-terrorism unit, we have impressed it to the ladder, because we have in our cells, in our police cells, we have installed CCTV cameras. Also in our interview rooms, we have installed CCTV cameras where we can provide as evidence in case of any allegation of torture or any other mistreatment by our officers. We support our argument by providing the digital evidence in court after retrieving, maybe after analyzing the CCTV, and also doing recording during the entire interviewing process. So we have impressed, and we are following the laws in Kenya to the ladder, and we normally produce our suspect within 24 hours period. There have been rights to produce the suspect before the court, but we have some limitation. It depends on how the gravity of the offense. But you have as an investigator to give a compelling reason to the magistrate to allow you to hold suspect for more days. Otherwise, we are not allowed to hold a suspect after 24 hours. You are supposed to produce them in court within the 24 hours period and present them before the magistrate or the judge and press charges against them. Otherwise, we are almost the same as Malawi, and we have been observing the fundamental rights of the suspect. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
My colleagues and contribute, of course, we can make sure that the arrest of suspect is more humane and less painful. And in the East African region, we have developed policing standards for the 14 member countries on how to handle suspects. We know the different countries have different laws. Kenya and Malawi, they are former British colonies, and therefore you find they have similar laws, procedures on how to deal with the suspect when they need to arrest them. But of course, other jurisdictions have different procedures. Our starting point, Chair, is that arrest should be done when it is extremely necessary, and it should be the last resort. If you can summon the suspect to come to you in the police station, please do that, and there will be no need of arresting the suspect. Of course, the police need to be trained on conflict resolution. If they are faced with a certain problem while they are patrolling, on how to deal with that situation to make sure that in the event of an arrest, the arrest is not violent. The suspect submits himself to the police authority on a patrol. And this will depend on how the police have been trained. And we are trying to do that through the policing standard for East Africa. Of course, there is the issue of the human rights of the suspects at the point of arrest, and how is handled from the time is arrested up to the time is taken to the court. And all this period, the suspect must be handled in a humane way. And I'm happy to hear from the Inspector General and also from the Kenyan gentleman that, of course, these suspects are innocent until they are proved guilty. But of course, we know occasionally there is a use of force during arrest, and we are emphasizing in our policing standards that we should use minimal force to make sure that we don't inflict injuries or pain to the suspect as we're making the arrest. Of course, globally we are seeing a kind of a development which is not good, that when we say equipping the police, it is like militarization of the police, that we are seeing police having heavy equipment when they are supposed to be policing the communities. And that means, should there be use of violence or force during arrests, then the pain is too much because of the kind of equipment the police are using. Otherwise, if it were possible, and we know the society is becoming more violent, if it were possible, police officers would be in the streets without firearms. Once again, Chair, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Of course, it will depend, the police action during the interaction with a suspect will depend on the type of crime and the kind of a suspect. Otherwise, thank you very much, Chair. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much, Gideon. Different countries, different laws. Arrest is an exception rather than the norm of policing. Minimum force avoids injuries and pain to the suspects. Very much appreciated for these inputs. Mine is, I may wish to add that rather than in the course of where the force is unavoidable, then objective should rather be to restrain rather than to punish with the use of or with the application of that force. And I think the bottom line is always within here, where police officers will want to necessarily handcuff a very compliant, non-resistant suspect, just either to show authority or as a way of inflicting punishment to the individual. And I think that is where the import of this is coming. As much as we can always do everything else to restrain the individual, it's important to review it to see whether all those measures we are taking, are they geared towards punishing the individual, or they're just geared towards ensuring the minimum of force to get the individual detained lawfully, of course, for the purpose of processing through justice. So thanks so much. That's all I can add. And at this stage, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to thank each and every one of you, right from the outset to this particular moment. I think we have indeed done a lot of justice to many of the questions that we have set upon ourselves. We very much, the contributions, the inputs made, the suggestions have been very much cordial, very much appreciated, very much insightful, and very much helpful to the discussion so far. And I want to thank and appreciate each one of you, and also our organizers, Ayan and Antoinette, for setting us up in this beautiful conference. I'm speaking from South Sudan, the Inspector General of Police from Malawi, and also the two Nairobis. We have been in touch just as if we are together in one same conference. And I think it takes a lot of good deal of work, a lot of planning to be able to help us achieve this. So thanks so much to our organizers, and then also distinguished colleagues for this particular moment. And I think by the imagination or the plan of the organizers, this is only setting up the platform for the conference that is coming in October. And I think for panel number one, I stand to be judged later, but I believe that we are already on top of the conference, and surely we shall see a very, very fruitful and a successful conference come October. Thanks so much. And it's my privilege once again as chair to hand you over to Antoinette and Ian, if he's still around, to take us through the rest of the process and for us to end this particular discussion this evening. Thanks so much.